We will enter segments to disrupt them.
फरारी जैसा लुक लग रहा है.
Airplane kind of look.
A little bit of polarization is important.
Pura thing design. You cannot take your eyes off. Modern looking and aesthetic.
80% of the decisions were on WhatsApp.
People who own Ferraris and Lamborghini turning around and talking about this car that had hit the scene and saying, hey, what is this? Is this the mantra of success of what Mahindra is doing?
Amazing car, amazing design, and just like a fighter jet.
Anand Mahindra even tweeted about
That's right.
it. People are coming to Mahindra to take inspiration.
Very futuristic. Amazing.
Awesome!
So the future I see for Mahindra in many, many years is
Welcome to our new series, The Bharat Journey, where we bring you India's greatest automotive stories one at a time. And we're kicking off this episode with a very special story. This is about an Indian brand that has been making waves globally with their design.
Absolutely love the design. They are bold, they are futuristic, they're making such a statement.
I was immediately drawn to that front end. It's captivating. It also looks really luxurious, and also making it futuristic must have been something really difficult, but they've got it.
Their recently launched electric cars have wowed the world over. We're talking about none other than Mahindra & Mahindra.
Established as a steel trading company in 1945, M&M expanded their horizon into the automotive world by manufacturing the Willys Jeep under license in India. They then broadened their horizons to LCV and tractor manufacturing. 1993 saw the beginning of their journey into the passenger vehicle space with the Armada. And over the years, the company established itself in the SUV space with boldly designed vehicles. While there were quite a few hits, it is the recent EVs that have taken it to the next level. It is a new era of Mahindra design. This is the story we wanted to tell.
And who better to take us through this journey than the Indian designer that has been making global waves, Pratap Bose, Chief Creative and Design Officer of M&M.
since I came to Mahindra, we've just doubled our footprint and we're giving you this exclusive tour of our new studio extension as well.
Why the shift to Mahindra and what brought you here?
When I was interacting with Rajesh, he mentioned that there's a very exciting phase of all new electric vehicles coming. And, that's a prospect I just could not ignore. If I'm perfectly honest, we don't consider India not to be a global market either. We think India is in fact more global than many global markets. We have so many Indias in India itself that itself allows us to do products to cater to a wide customer base within India. And then when you talk about overseas, the Scorpio has been there as a pickup form and as SUV. The XUV 700 sells in South Africa and Australia. And one of our latest babies, the 3XO, is doing extremely well in South Africa.
Yeah.
And it's those same values of a good product at a good price with the right features that resonates across the world. And we've seen that.
And of course, that was the old design studio
Yeah.
where the cars were designed, but where we're going into a completely new place. Oh wow.
So Renuka,
This is completely new.
I said, it's a global studio. It needs to use global processes. And this is our
The robot,
latest acquisition. From computer styling data, you can create a full-size clay model.
I guess the finessing is still done by hand, some parts of it, yes?
Absolutely. There is only so much you can do on the computer. And then we use our phenomenal clay sculpting team to really give that touch of the hand, that warmth that you see in all our design work.
Yeah. So you're bringing a lot more here into India now, but you started off really in UK at the Mahindra Advanced Design.
Europe. As I mentioned, global can be seen in two ways. One is where you go as a company with your products, and the other is what you get from the rest of the world into the company. So MADE, which you rightly said, we opened in August 22, gave us access to some of the best design talent in the UK and Europe. And then we combine it with our team here and create these phenomenal products.
And let's actually begin it at the leadership philosophy. Begin what Mahindra's vision is for their future products.
Yeah, I think if you've seen our products throughout, they've always been about breaking stereotypes, shattering the rules.
You certainly shattered a lot of people's minds with the BE.
No, but look, if I even talk about the three-door Thar, people said you can't sell three-door products in India. And,
Absolutely.
we've won a
Yeah.
lot of Car of the Year awards. So the design process, Renuka, today, we created the Bs or the BEVs in less than 3 years.
I think I have to correct you there, Pratap, because from when you joined to when we first saw the cars was just about 1 year. It's been unheard of, I think, in the industry to have like full-size models out in a year.
And we showed 5,
Yeah.
if you remember, as
Yeah.
a part of the vision.
Yeah.
So I think the clarity brings speed. I remember, Rajesh just giving me a one-line brief, create vehicles that people will fall in love with. And they happen to be electric. I don't think I can talk about the speed of the process without mentioning Velu and his team at MRV. I think I have worked in a lot of companies for a long time now. I haven't seen a more driven, passionate, excited engineering team anywhere. We talk about global, I don't think there can be a better engineering team. So to convert the design vision into road-worthy reality, I think a huge part of that goes to MRV.
This is the first time I'm hearing a designer of a company actually be happy with the engineering team. And normally they're always at loggerheads about what can be translated into reality and what can't. And design often has to make a lot of compromises.
I mean, I remember that when we showed the first thermocol models to the management team, Velu came to me and said, he calls me Pratap's son, and now we call each other Guru. He said, I promise you I will not change a line on these cars.
Wow.
If this is what you've envisioned that we are so excited about, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think that they kind of didn't stay to that promise. They went further because there were many things we hadn't imagined that they put in.
Okay.
So the lighting on the roof or the sound system, at every level they actually elevated the car. And you're quite right, design and engineering usually are at loggerheads, but I mean, me and the team have had an absolute blast these 3 years.
So is this the mantra of success of what Mahindra is doing? A very close-knit design and engineering team.
Yeah, but here, if we open up the conversation a little more, it is a tight team, but then there are also the business leaders. So there's Rajesh and Vijay, involved in the SUV side. It's the same thing. You guys create something which is desirable that people will fall in love with. Let us think about, the pricing, the go-to market, all of that, the communication. And because we are a small team, leadership team, we took decisions. I think 80% of the decisions were on WhatsApp. We
Wow.
didn't even have to call a
meeting or
a committee or whatever.
Yeah.
I think synergy, Renuka, comes from energy. People across the company, and I say this with all sort of earnesty, from the watchman to the chairman, are energized about what we are doing, and I think that's very important. Everyone really shares the vision that we can be the best. The second thing is we will enter segments to disrupt them.
Yeah.
We won't enter segments just to be there, presence. In fact, there are some segments we don't enter because we don't think we can disrupt it or bring something, special. So those are the two things, right? The energy of people that you see at Mahindra, anywhere you go, our plants, our other facilities, MRV, you've been so many times, the corporate office, that energy is infectious.
It's a step to take that decision and say, okay, we're going to be disruptors.
Yeah.
And people think of disruption mostly in terms of giving features or, adding more space or stuff like that. But Mahindra's taken that philosophy a lot into its design.
Yeah, I have a view on polarization, right? People think polarization is sometimes not so good, sometimes good, this, that, and the other. I always feel that a little bit of polarization is important, but those who like it, those who are on the like side, really love the product. And that's the way you should deal with it. It shouldn't be, a lover or hate 50-50. You have to make sure most people like it, and those who like it love it.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the balance we found with these 4 products, and of course, the products done before. I think Mahindra is good at finding that edge to which we go. There's a very famous designer, Raymond Loewy, who worked, right through the 40s, 50s, 60s. He used to use a term called Maya, most advanced yet acceptable. And Maya, that philosophy really drives what I do. You have to really push the edge, but it has to be acceptable. You can't alienate people.
So, as I'm understanding, the philosophy of Mahindra is go out there, be bold. We'll back that boldness.
We'll back that boldness.
That engineering team turns around and says, okay, we'll make that bold translate, and everything is a snap decision here.
And I'll show you some examples on both the BEVs where in an ordinary sense or in another company, we would have lost that to the conflict. A lot of people ask me where the headlights of the B6 is. You can't see it at
them.
all.
Yeah. It's like,
so that's that whole, electronics gadget sort of.
But it's also that excitement factor, no, into a product where there's something that's revealed, something that's new. You remember when pop-up lights came, how exciting they were.
Yeah.
I think this kind of does that, which has been missing in cars for so long. That emotion where you had little things that actually excited. I think that somehow we've lost along the way in coming to clean, safe design.
When you put the car into production, 3 years from when you show the first vision of it, it has to still keep that sense of shock. It shouldn't be like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. When you're creating a new brand, for example. And then, if you look at some of the elements, especially this hidden till lit lighting, there was no car in India or this bracket who had ever done that before. But the crank is the visual of when the lights come on. This true floating wing, which again, in most companies, they would have said, look, it's too complex to engineer. Let's not do it. Would we have lost something? Maybe not. But what have we gained in terms of when people walk into the showroom and they realize that this is a floating wing?
Yeah, and there's a through and through.
Through and through. They're absolutely zapped. There's another very, very interesting element which I haven't even talked about at launch. If you see the car from the side, it looks really low, this coupe-like roof line. But the actual roof is here. Which is a good 60 to 70 mil higher than this. The paint team said, look, Pratap, we'll have challenges with volume because you got to mask this manually and paint. And that prevents a certain throughput in the paint shop. So the volumes won't happen. So we said, no, we absolutely need to do this. But otherwise you would have had body color all the way till there.
And the roof line would have looked quite different.
The paint shop team scoured the earth and found a system which actually is like an inkjet printer. It's called, sprayless technology. And this roof is painted with that technology. So, again, it's not a combustion engine vehicle. So when we drop in the key, we wanted a little bit of drama that the vehicle comes alive, and then you press this, you can see then everything sort of lights up. Again, these were things that were easier not to do. But MRV didn't let go of that vision. This piece here, we were very keen that when you adjust the aircon vents, you don't break this line. It goes throughout. In most cars you'll see the vanes actually go up and down. Yeah, it's fixed.
Wow.
And,
so there's a lot of detailing that has gone in.
A lot of detail. For me, the B6 is a me car and the XEV9E is a we car. And there we actually spread, share, distribute. The instrument panel goes right across, the coast-to-coast screen goes right across. So that's how we sort of saw it. This is much more individualistic. That's much more, family or chauffeur-driven. Because a lot of people asked us, why are you launching two cars at the same time and what's the difference? It's when you see them, you really understand that they are for distinct customer sets. And I've seen that play out in the showroom. Here's another exclusive actually. So this is a satin white XEV9E, which I think looks absolutely stunning.
It looks stunning. This is what it is, like every time you guys show us something, all of us are kind of going.
I mean, small examples, going back to how engineering and the brand and design work. This logo stamped into the bonnet, backlit and also chrome in the day. These are things that are easier to actually not do. Like I said, we designed these to be desirable SUVs in the first place. They happen to be EVs, right? A lot of people, talk about EVs should have a long cabin and a short hood because it doesn't have an engine and all of that. Yes, you can do that in some cases, but I think an SUV has such a deeply ingrained image in people's minds. They expect a nice long bonnet. It's still a very powerful car,
Exactly,
as you know. Just the power is coming from another source. So we have this nice long bonnet, a beautiful swooping cabin, this entire edge-to-edge, end-to-end glass, never been done before. Certainly not in India. There was a question that could we break this into two parts? And we said no. We want it sort of end to end to give you that magical experience.
And of course, now it has the lights and the drama with it as well.
The other piece that one actually overlooks is our supplier base. I mean, many of them have never done these components before, and lots of them actually stepped up to the plate to put this stuff into production, to bring them to India, first of all, the technologies, and then to help us co-create this car. I mean, this range is phenomenal.
Was there any difference between Pratap's inherent design philosophy versus Mahindra design philosophy?
No, look, I think as a designer, and I say this many times, you are not an artist. You have to express through the design the values of that particular brand. You know, so when a Pratap Bose or an XYZ designer goes into any company, you have to become a designer or a voice of that brand rather than, you know, the other way around. You know, so you have to know how to adapt to what the company wants to say. And what we wanted to say here was that we are really the best.
I think Anand Mahindra even tweeted about
That's right.
And for him too, it was an exciting phase where normally as Indian designers, we always went to global, you know, fairs and took
right.
inspiration, but people are coming to Mahindra to take inspiration. And that has been a huge journey from then to now.
You know, Renuka, we had 4 sub-brands, and each of them has a very strong customer base. But when you want to grow as a company, you need to bring in new customers. You know, that's very important. And we realized that there are many, regardless of what we do, there are many people who've never considered a Mahindra product.
Correct.
You know, and BE was that chance to create a new brand and bring in people, like you just said, who've never considered a Mahindra before.
Yes, there were supercar groups, which is, you know, people who own Ferraris and Lamborghinis and things like that, turning around and talking about this car that had hit the scene and saying, hey, what is this? So I think this car has kind of shattered all kinds of boundaries.
Absolutely. Yeah? You know, the proportions, the 2775 millimeter wheelbase, we chose because it gave us a battery pack of 79 kilowatt hour. It wasn't just, oh, it looks the right proportion. No, it was very, very carefully selected so that you have the balance of space at the back and range. Velu said, I'm going to go straight for a 79, 80 kilowatt hour battery because that will give us a range for people to think of these SUVs as more than A to B. They want to go from...
Because the brand is about adventure.
It's
it is about
getting
taking your car and driving out. Yes.
And this is why I said, you know, you have to stay true to what the brand wants to say.
It's not only the passenger vehicles that have seen a transformation. The energy and change in design has been seen in the commercial vehicle space too.
So in small commercial vehicles, you know, under 3.5 tons, we are over 50% of the market, and Vijay very sweetly says, Adha Bharat Hamara.
So it's truly the Bharat journey over here.
Absolutely. And again here, you know, Renuka, we are very, very conscious of the fact that the operator of a vehicle like this, who's working in the sun for 12, 14 hours in mandis or in, you know, transport stands, actually no one's really bothered to think about them at all. And I think a little nod to them is, you know, we brought air conditioning, we brought a fantastic look.
Yeah.
So when the driver of a Vero stands in front of this, he or she thinks that this
Feels
is
like
an
a
SUV.
hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, they're proud of having this. Simple
Comfort,
thing. Simple thing, when you load up the back, you can't see what when you're reversing. So, you know, the little helper will get out and he'll do little tuck, 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 tuck or whatever. We put a camera, small intervention like that, which again in conventional thinking for this segment or this category, you wouldn't have done. I think it's those things that to do the right thing, despite what the market and information tells you.
Yeah, because there's always that discussion of cost cutting versus design, right?
Yeah.
Which I think has, in this whole conversation, I think has completely disappeared. I've never heard you kind of say, oh, I had to get rid of this because of cost.
I think we made some very intelligent choices. Of course, we still have to make money as a company, but you need to find where to cut cost. And the cost should not be cut where customers can touch, feel, see, you know, that you've done it. It's got to be done in other levels and other areas of the company. Are you operating efficiently as a company? You know, can you do things there that then don't affect what you offer to the customer. I think that kind of smartness or intelligence in running a business is what I see here is, really taken to an art form in a way.
One of the things that you've come in and really changed the identity of is the logos, because I noticed a new logo here. You had it on the older products, and of course the BE logo was creating a completely different identity for the company.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit on that distinction, that differentiation, and why the change, something that's so core to a brand.
I think, in some logos or symbols, you have to sort of give a nod to the past and still say something more. So for example, in our SCV and pickup light commercial vehicle range, we use this new road ahead logo. In this case, you'll see the road actually breaks out of the ellipse, which shows there's no limits to where you can go. These are the new highways of India on which vehicles like this will go. And then of course in the farm division, in the tractors, these are the grooves, which are the farms on either side of the highway. So we've just very subtly tweaked our road ahead logo to give it a new meaning. For the new ICE SUVs, we started the introduction of this logo with the 700, the Twin Peaks logo. I had spoken about it, what it means. When we came to the BE, of course BE was a brand new sub-brand, and it was be what you are, be what you want to be anything you want to be. And I think the language of that is very young. It's very two-dimensional. So it's very good for sort of social media, for Instagram work. It's a flatter logo. And then of course we have our Unlimit logo, which is all our vehicles born on InGlow, which is infinity, which is energy flow. It's also a nod to a racing circuit. There are 4 different logos or symbols now in this whole range. No Mahindra design studio is complete without coffee. So, when I travel, I always make it a point to visit small independent coffee shops, architecture, fashion. So you look at everything that's happening in the world around you.
Why coffee shops?
I think coffee shops and independent coffee shops are about taste. They have to stand against some of the biggest global chains. So how do they find the story? How do they differentiate? What sort of ambience do they create for not so much money, because many of them are independent. And I've seen really creative solutions to that.
Trends change so quickly now. It's so much quicker than it was before. Everybody's used to seeing something, scroll,
for seconds,
something, scroll, seconds. So how do you cope with that in terms of design, which has to be something, especially in this field, lasting through probably 5 to 7 years?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, most customers or anyone in general comes to know about a product or service through their phone, actually through that 5-inch screen. It's not necessarily, the newspaper or TV advertising. It's instantly on the phone. And like you said, if they don't like what they see in a fraction of a second, they either scroll or, they've switched off. So you have to grab their attention in that fraction of a second. And, that is a challenge. But if you do grab it, then you've got them, and it's then they want to visit the showroom, then they want to understand more. So that first visual they see is so fundamentally important. The images we put out of the vehicles. Now I participate in that process. I think you earlier gave my very long stretch title, which is Chief Design and Creative Officer. That creative part actually is how we present our vehicles in the visual. So for example, for both these BEVs, we shot them in Spain. I went as a part of the shooting process, so that we got the best angles, we got the best sort of, we presented the vehicles in the best light possible, because that's the money shot. The other part of the creative process is when the cars end up in our showroom. So we've just designed or redesigned our showrooms, and even there you'll see the backgrounds we've used, the textures, the colors, the lighting, present the vehicle in the best way.
What are the things you think other people or other global companies will be looking at in your products and drawing inspiration from? Say you weren't here. What would it be that you were looking at and saying, oh wow, I got to figure this out?
Yeah, I a lot of my friends who work at global OEMs were shaken up or woken up by the 2 BEVs that we showed, and I saw evidence of that in Bharat Mobility. Like you said, Anand, tweeted that global manufacturers and suppliers pouring all over our cars. I would be surprised if I wasn't in Mahindra, I would be surprised what we managed to put into production.
I think on earlier products, a lot of us journalists wrote about how the engineering of Mahindra had become truly at global levels. And I think Velu-san has had a lot to do with that.
I mean, look at his powertrains. I mean, even
Though
not
the two powertrains,
in the ICE world.
I think the way the dynamics of the cars have changed, just
Yes.
the way they feel and drive. It's everybody comes out saying wow, and there was that little bit of gap when everybody felt like, okay, we need the products to shine on every level, and that's kind of happened after you stepped in and brought these wow designs to people. So we'll head into your office and talk a little more.
I always feel that a space for designers is directly linked to the outcome.
Absolutely, because it's something that you draw inspiration
Yeah,
from.
absolutely. And it should be an inspiring place to come and work every day and, all of that.
What is your vision for the future of Mahindra Design?
The product is a direct outcome of what's going on inside the company. This is an absolute fact. And so the future I see, hopefully for Mahindra in many, many years, is the same level of clarity, of commitment, of passion. If that remains, I think the products will reflect that.
So that's a very interesting philosophy you've spoken about. I think it's a lot like your baby being born like a baby into someone's home and its upbringing, right? Truly depends on what's inside the home.
Yes, the environment, what you feed, both intellectually and how you stimulate growth. It's very clear.
So yes, and from your conversation, I think it's been amply clear to us that there is a team that is very, very cohesive. There's clarity to what the brand is, what the philosophy is, and where it's going.
Clarity to the extent, Renuka, that we are also very clear what we won't do. You should never say never, but we play to our strengths now. And lots of times people ask me, what about a sedan? What about a sports car? And yes, of course, if we had to, we could do one, right? But is that us? So I think the clarity is also what not to do as much as it is what to do.
The reasons that this brand is making waves now, but we're going to make a few waves of our own before we let Pratap go. We're going to shake him up a little bit and we're going to tell him no brand identity except for Pratap Bose.
Wow.
No money bar. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, engineering can't make this and this is too expensive to put in your product. But if you had to put pen to paper and design a car of the future,
for me,
for you, what would it be?
So Renuka, I'm going to sort of try and talk through this. I like, of course, big wheels. They really make, cars look amazing. I like high ground clearance. So I'm going to sort of design the car as we go along. I don't want it to be massive because I hate parking. I would love quite a sporty cabin, but at a height.
Okay.
So that I don't have to bend like too much, and quite a nice chopped tail. So I like practicality, I like comfort, so I would probably build in some of those elements. I'd probably, keep the the tail section open, and if I ever went surfing, that's one of the things I would love to learn. I could get the surfboard in there. So it's almost like a sports car pickup. So you can see how confused I am.
No, I can actually see how clear you are. You kind of all packaged it into one little.
Yeah, it's what I would do for sort of my own lifestyle or imagined lifestyle actually.
That is so cool, guys. I'm going to pick this up and show it to you if it hasn't been clear already. This is Pratap's car of his future.
If I surf.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Pratap. We've really enjoyed this conversation. It's given us a great insight, not only into your design, but how Mahindra works and its philosophy for the future. And we wish you guys all the best.
No, but before you go, Renuka, I want to gift you something that shows the true talent of the design team. This is a little sort of sketchbook to show you how the rocks was created. You can see how much more talented the team is than me. So then it'll reset the shock that people would have got from my sketch.
Not at all, but this is interesting. It's the story of the Thar rocks.
And then of course, the
BE.
The BE6 was designed and conceived We've shown it in 5 stages of falling in love, like we talked about, when we launched the car in Chennai.
Seduction.
It's seduction,
Ooh,
which
yes.
is exterior design. You immediately fall in love with what you see at first glance. And then, I hope you enjoy it as you take this home. The interior is about intimacy, and we spoke about that, how you feel extraordinary inside a car like this. And then, the engineering,
how it all came together.
How it all came together, the quality of the car, and of course the artistic process. Again, the skill of the designers that we have and are lucky to have at Mahindra Global Design. So please enjoy.
I'm sure one day these are going to become masterpieces. When you see cars, and after a while we say, oh, I have the book about this, and this is going to be masterpieces. And I have this very cute little inscription from Pratap. So this is really cool and truly, truly valued. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure talking to you. You've given us great insight, not only into the design and the products that we've recently seen, but Mahindra as a company, where it's going, how it works, and what the future is. We hope you've enjoyed watching the first episode of Bharat Journey, and stay tuned to Mashable India for more.